What's up, y'all? It's kind of late. I honestly almost completely forgot to do this. It's kind of cool. It almost looks like there's stars, but it's actually just the window being dirty. um, um, yeah, it's Tuesday. It's pretty late. I think it's oh yeah, it's 10 on the dot. 10 on the dot here, uh, in Illinois, yo. CST. But yeah, I mean, today's just been a lot of meditation and just, I mean, a lot of nothing really to a large extent. Um, I don't know. I feel very drawn to essentially start. I don't know. Well, the honest truth of it is that I felt sort of stunted a little bit on these past couple days. I think that my plans got a little uprooted when I found out that the semi trailers and all that that are over on the garden lot are not gone. But then I also realized that they're probably not gone because honestly, I'm not ready. Um, and so like that was kind of an interesting, I guess I've been trying to like figure out, or I guess just get better prepared because I was like, okay, yeah, I need to do this now because then the lot will be ready. And so I don't know, maybe like the spirit guides in the way that it's supposed to, where maybe I'm not supposed to look and like just wait for things to be ready and then have them sitting there, you know? Um, so maybe that's just not how God's leading it and teaching me like in the small steps because of the way that I kick and and don't want to do things the way that God's trying to show me how to do them, but uh to see that things are moving along and that while nothing's waiting on me, I can prepare before it's waiting on me so that once I am ready, uh things will move essentially. Um as they're supposed to. I think that that's just the harmonious way that the Lord guides and that the Spirit guides. So I guess it's been a lesson for me these days, because yeah, essentially it's myself like braying against that teaching, um, and feeling like I have time somehow, um, and maybe I do have time. Maybe that's why I'm just resting and just sort of like taking. I mean, what have I done today? I haven't really done much. The plan was whenever I first woke up, which I woke up kind of late because I stayed up really late last night, watching garden videos, just more stuff about getting better acquainted with the microbiology uh, of like soil environments. And I'd say it sounds a lot more complex than like really what I was basically just learning the difference between bacteria, soil, and like which plants like to grow on it versus fungal soils and which plants like to grow on that. And the fungal soils are like the ones that are in forests, and then the bacterial ones are the ones that are in like pastures. But then I was trying to figure out what the connection was between the two and like going down that rabbit hole because I wanted to know, you know, I've really gotten into all this stuff from Paul Gauchi and like Back to Eden, gardening. The Lord sort of guided me in that at the hands of Mormons, actually, which it's hilarious. But like the Lord uses His people even in whatever imperfection state, and like that's an opinion I guess I'm tossing in, but it is a fact all across the board because I am that too, even if I'm not, you know, even though I'm no denomination that's recognized. I'm just the one that I'm creating, I guess, by following God the way that I follow Him, right? But whatever, they totally, yeah, randomly at one point on my journey, uh, just traveling, I like through Utah actually. Yeah, a bunch of Mormons helped me out actually, because my car broke down, um, and yeah, so a guy randomly pulled through after like the Mormon family that helped me go get gas, got gas. He came through and was so excited because they found something they found like in Brazil, like they're like the whole like the tablets of their book. I don't even know, man. I don't know. The guy was excited. He was like, he gave me a Book of Mormon like right then and there, and was like, hey, come to my house, learn how to grow food. You got to look up Back to Eden gardening, because I was telling him about how I wanted to do this garden. I really felt that the Garden City was important, and yeah, it's interesting seeing like the different hands that God pulls in, for these things. Recently, I saw a lot of Muslim people too, and like a lot of Muslim, like, looking at Dune and those sorts of ideas and how they're so connected. It's very interesting. It's like, okay, there's people that God is calling, but like they're at whatever place that they are at. Um, and I mean, I was the exact, I was just generally open spiritually at that point in my life. No, actually, at that point, I had taken Jesus seriously, I think. But I was still, it was like still very early, still very early. And it was during that trip that I did accept Christ as Lord, during that road trip back home. So, yeah, I think that I was just, yeah, like seeing people. But even now, yeah, even now I see people like getting called essentially from wherever they are. But I was certainly um, not fully committed. Well, let's say unconscious, I suppose. More unconscious than I am right now, which still, I mean, it's we are working for the teleos perfection, right? Just moving forward as the humans that make mistakes that we are, to look towards our completion and move in that direction. Anyway, this has been a giant tangent. Um, yes. Back to Eden gardening was the thing that like really showed me that this could be really easy, and that gardening is actually like a lot simpler than it's ever been made out to be in my mind. It's always seemed like some sort of magic too, and like just because it looks so technical at this point. At least if you're like somebody in one of these like in one of these nations that are super tech driven and heavily industrialized. I've never I've never grown anything. I've never seen anything grow. I guess maybe like cilantro. Uh, I had cilantro for a while, but somebody else took care of it. Um, and I never really watched it grow. I didn't really know if it was doing well or not, and it did eventually just die. So I just I don't know if it did good or not. Like, but yes, that Paul Gauci like really his Back to Eden method like popularized the he was in that same wave as like the no-till farming and the wood chip farming. So that led me to Ernst Goshen and like agroforestry, looking at ideas of wood chips, and then there was like a article that was like better than wood chips, and it was talking about live soil cover, and like that essentially leading to agroforestry. Um, so then, yeah, there's always been this blank slate in my mind as I've continued to try to move forward in it. Like, so how do I connect the trees to like the regular, like common vegetables that we all know and love? Um, and so in my, right now, designing, I had to get really clear on that. I think I felt personally, because that's just the way that I am. I have to overthink everything before I go do it. But in these systems, you want to have a good idea of what you're doing before you start. Um, Otherwise, yes, plants will die. And like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter because like I'm planning on trying to do this like as no cost as I possibly can. But yeah, I just wanna really get it done right, and have that there for people to see. So anyway, that led me down a whole rabbit hole. Like, shout out to like the Canadian Permaculture Legacy channel. That guy's helped like really clear a lot of things up for me because he's just got an engineering mind. He's like a mechanical engineer or something like that. Um, but he does this like he does permaculture, and as he I think that's like the school that like he came in with, but he really just does agroforestry is like what I see. Although maybe not, because I guess he does his like garden. He does like raised garden beds for like the the common crops, uh, which is a different way. Like that's definitely a different way. Never mind. But it's so similar. Like all these schools bleed into each other. Anyway, so I guess it's just been a lot of research. A lot of research last night. I woke up late today. I got up and I thought, well, maybe I'll work on, working out the roadmap and how I'm going to lead people to understanding the Garden City through this series that I'm making for my little sister. And really, because I want to get that going, I think that she's got like a month left, not even, maybe like 3 weeks left of summer before she's back in school. So um, the time is really now. But I couldn't get myself to do that all day. I ended up rewatching The Chosen. Well, I think I got I got in my head about, I guess whether or not I was listening to spirit to the Lord, because I just don't know if I've been listening as well as I could be these past couple of days. Yesterday I binged The Chosen. I think I mentioned that in the video. And so I was trying to remember what, like, because I had received a message there that was like, okay, this is definitely God talking to me. And it was something about maybe God not, or, people not listening to a God that they don't understand or that they don't have a relationship with, or maybe people not, just like that sort of idea, this idea of like relationships being like the authenticating factor. And so like that was sort of like softening my heart to a certain extent about the situation as I described, like on about Sunday. Um, that I just don't know how to like how to. I don't know how to interact with the church community um, in a way that isn't just abandoning them, right? But that feels good and that feels like I'm actually like contributing to like a change there. Even but they don't want change and they don't want that disruption. They don't want that discomfort. Period. So it's like an odd, like cultivating that space, I suppose. Mm, that middle ground of like, well, what is it that we're here to do here? Um, and I think that yeah, The Chosen was definitely like helping minister to me and teach me a little bit there in terms of, well, I think it was just the Spirit anyway guiding. Thank God The Chosen had that had the media to have me there present with the Spirit and considering the Lord. Um, but yes, I don't know. Developing relationships, I think, is going to be something that like developing relationships in the Lord. Just coming, I think it was that, like really just coming, you know, um, gentle and honest and fully with the Lord as I see I can be, right? And trying my best to not lose hold of that, um, even if I encounter the world and its waves, but being strong to let the waves crash into me, but continue to be unmoving on the stone, the eternal rock foundation that is ever sturdy and ever unfailing, that is the Lord. Um, but yes, so that was like something that I was trying to sit in meditation with, and I was looking through all of the Chosen videos again, or episodes of season 4, and then I got caught up watching like the last couple of episodes of that. Um, and then from there, I just sort of got distracted. What else did I do? I really just sat around, man. Just sat around. I watched more garden videos. Yeah, I like come through the other. I think I watched the Back to Eden documentary again today. Yes, that was like the last thing that I've done here. After rewatching a lot of those Canadian permaculture legacy channel videos, like going over them again and trying to like really solidify that in my mind. Ask ChatGPT as well, some different things to like sort of solidify the knowledge together, as like being able to synthesize with a synthesis agent essentially that is the AI. But yes, I really just didn't get much done, to be honest. Just a lot of thinking, considering, meditations. Um, uh, oh, I also just like got lost in my own rabbit hole, essentially, of like looking up the song of you guys ever heard Brazil by Declan McKenna? And then I got like went down a whole rabbit hole looking that up because of this old girl that I used to know that I used to love that song. And then we had a falling out, so I haven't really like been able to like look at that song the same, or even that artist. And I thought that was kind of unfair because I was like, man, this guy's like really talented. And so like it's like I don't know, man, like I attached him to like all of that, and I was like, yeah, that's her artist, so like I can't enjoy that. And like I don't know, that song's always been striking to me for what it is. And like I took a look at it again and I was like, wow, this really is like striking in its imagery and like what it I essentially like did a whole deep dive on Declan McKenna. And I guess he was like raised in a like Catholic upbringing, Catholic high school he went to. So it makes sense that like a lot of these things, it's like he was a well-formed fruit. I think it's sad to see that, well, not sad, but maybe he's just playing out whatever it is that he needs to play out in his life. But yes, I just, I see that like there is a wonder and like and a great ability that is intrinsic to who he is now for how he was cultivated. Um, and that makes his lyrics ever so like rich um and well thought out, in the same way that I was watching that Bible Project Classroom talking about Ezekiel, and Tim Mackey mentioned it. He mentioned that like uh was the prophet Ezekiel really trying to like make all of these literary designs whenever he had the visions that he had, or spoke the things that he spoke, um or even considered the things that he considered, or what it is that he paid attention to in all of these different things that he was shown. And he mentions, and he's like, hey, in the same way that like I don't necessarily, because somebody asked a question about it, I guess, like what the intention was, as the man was like sharing what he was sharing. And Tim Mackey goes, well, I don't know if I think the intention just was, I don't think there was an intention beyond just relaying what was true uh, for him and what he understood about the universe, right? And what he was witnessing. Because in the same way that if somebody asks you about like the world, and like we think about this whole cosmology of space that now we understand and like have witnessed, right? Scientifically, with these new tools. Whereas like that's just not how the world was built up for Ezekiel. It was built up, um, in like scholarship, Bible scholarship, and with like, Genesis being, the worldview, and like really dived into and studied. And so it's just baked into the core pattern of who he is. And that comes out in like the wonderful, amazing, and poetically, eternally connectively true words uh, that he, well, I guess that he could understand uh, and connect beyond just being an instrument for God, as a prophet, and having words put into his mouth, from the Lord, which is, a whole other topic. But yes, I see that. I see that like that. That's definitely like a beautiful thing that. I was looking at a lot of the lyrics. I finally took a listen to Spotify, like the top at least 5 songs that he has of Declan McKenna, um, because Brazil like just struck me for like what it was that, it felt like he was pointing to the social thing to reveal the mask, or put a mask on something to like unmask the trueness of like the enemy uh, that still pervades among us. Um, which felt very, biblically sound to me. And so that's why I wanted to look. I was like, well, first I was like, well, he's a brilliant songwriter. I don't know if this is just like him, something that he trained. So my first thought was, man, he must have gone to the Brit school, because I love British music always. And like, they're all the musicians that I love are always coming from the Brit school. But I guess he did not. At least that's not what his Wikipedia page says. So I don't know. And I think I tried to look it up afterwards, and it didn't say that he went to the Brit school. But yes, great. Yeah, from there I just sort of like started wondering, well, or I guess I looked up from, or I looked from there, because I mean, like that was the first question, was like, oh, is this just artistry of the craft? But like there was a secondary question, of course, there, of like whether or not, sorry, that like, ooh, I did not like that sound. The screech. I pulled the little like uh leg rest closer, and it squeaked across the floor. But yes, he yeah, I guess he had that upbringing I saw in his Wikipedia early life section. And so yeah, I saw later on too that like I guess he doesn't really identify with that stuff anymore. I don't know. It's very interesting. I get it. I totally get it. It's I don't think that we have good teachers, so I totally get why he's drawn away, but he's still drawn towards justice. So he still speaks on these things in just the way that, like, yes, he was baked into his pattern of like how he sees the world now, which is a beautiful thing, a beautiful gift. But I'm sure the one that he's not, he doesn't feel, he must not feel so grateful for, because he doesn't understand it, I suppose, because of the teachers and, you know, a missing lesson of grace that I guess I'm learning as well in the same breath, that I'm sort of describing to you guys about. Yes, we're, the people that we have, God's people we're still growing and learning, and we're imperfect, and we're rugged, and we're tough, and we like to fight against, and endure, and but sometimes for the wrong things, instead of just submitting and letting go and trusting. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult, as all of Jesus's lessons are, and all the foundational rocks that he places for us and how they intermix. They're so simple yet so complex. I was listening to the Bible Project podcast this morning too. They mentioned that too, about how, teachings are usually like these, and I've always thought like that. I've always thought like that since I was young about philosophy, that like there is totally a black and white, but it gets so complex as you mix them together. And that's where like the fun interplay is, because you need to be able to like discern those guiding foundational rocks to be able to make any sense of the giant tangle that they make together. Yeah, yeah, but I guess that was a really long way to get to the grace that I'm learning. And I guess sharing with you the journey that God's taking me on to continue to cultivate and expand that grace. And at the same time, my own questions of like why I continue to push off the work that is necessary, and yeah, I think I mentioned that earlier. That, oh man, I'd come to some sort of conclusion earlier today. Not what I'd mentioned earlier in the video, but that's why I'm like, oh man, I don't want to try. I'm like pulling at that thread. You guys ever have that where you like feel the thread of that idea, and like you can feel it, but it's just not there yet. Like it's like you're searching for it. It's traveling, it's coming close, and you're like worried you might lose it. That's where I'm at, where I'm trying to figure out or remember, or yeah, I guess either figure it out again or remember what it was that I said whenever I was asking and inquiring of God earlier about why is it that I'm not doing these things. And maybe it's fear. I don't know why that came to mind. I don't know if it's fear. Yeah, I think that there was a moment earlier whenever I like considered the phrase that I think makes so much sense, where it's like the devil will find work for idle hands to do. Um, and yeah, I feel like that. So like that's a worry thing for me as I consider like the idea of rest, because I have just considered that maybe I just want rest right now. And maybe it is so that God can continue to teach me these things that I'm sure are important. Which, as I say that now, that's probably just like the clear answer right there is like, oh yeah, God's saying, well, that's not the important thing right now. The important thing is for me to teach you more grace. Yeah. And so, but it feels like I'm just taking a rest, and it feels like I'm getting distracted. And then I worry about falling into decay, essentially, because I do think that whenever I run into these walls, oh, that's what it was. I thought maybe I'm like running into a wall where I'm like, oh man, I'm not sure how to move forward. Um, so then I go into like these really research heavy states, but I'm also not doing anything. And so then at that point, I feel like then I'm like, I'm at risk of like running to bad habits, really. Like to, like I've just been here in this place for so long, instead of being out there doing something. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being really critical of myself right now, not giving myself that grace in the same way that I need to learn how to give the rest of the church this grace. And also figuring out whether or not I'm just supposed to not do anything. I don't know. No, I think I already made it past that one. I already made it past that one to like, no, no, I'm meant to be doing stuff, and like pushing the ball forward for the Lord. Um, just always looking for uh, um, the Lord essentially, and following the Lord, and glorifying the Lord, and letting nothing stay with me, but that it all be given over to the Lord. Um, so, man, this video has turned out way longer than I really expected it to. I thought this was going to be a quick one because I was like, man, I haven't done anything. But there you go, guys. This is a day in my mind for a second, or even just, what is it, 26 minutes and 30 some seconds in my mind. Following the trails of meditation and how spirit guides me. But yeah. Yeah. Oh man. That definitely like, but yeah, the worry like definitely like creeped in as I was like, okay, so like, ooh, my old music career, and I have friends that like to do music, and I'm like, well, will I ever really get to do music again? I don't know. That might be one of the things that God's will prune off of me to um make me more fruitful. Which is like a sad prospect in my mind, because I'm like, wow, I look at like, yeah, I guess that was like a moment of like of like awe and like um sort of, I don't know, pedestaling, I suppose, or something that just feels like a behemoth essentially at that point. Where I watched like that Declan McKenna Brazil. I watched him play it live because I was like, how does he play this live? It sounded like it was in loop at one point, which I think it is because as I saw him perform it, he had a bunch of other people playing different stuff. Um, he found his way to do it anyway. Um, but at the end of the song, he goes, "Yeah, I wrote that whenever I was 15. That's the dream." And boom, it's a dream come true. And I was like, wow, okay. I'm like, yeah, he's right, I guess. And I was like, whoa. That brought me to like a whole question of timing and of timing. And the Chosen is always, again, in their thing, they're always playing on like that joke of soon with Jesus, but timing. And that's been a theme in my life too. People telling me to like wait on the Lord, wait on the Lord. That they feel that they must wait on the Lord. And me feeling like the Lord is calling me to go, and calling me to tell others to go as well, and then listening to my own songs, essentially trying to like get some peace, like, oh, like, well, my art's good too, like, even though his art's good as well, my art is good as well. And yeah, listening to Action was like, it gave me a feeling of perspective, I think, because I think I'd always thought of it as like an angry call, but it does sort of sound like an agonizing call, the voice that I use in Action, um, about how there's, there's no distractions. There are no distractions anymore, so the time for action is now. And then I find myself at my own little crossroads here. Also, yeah, dealing with inaction, and then like essentially, yeah, just wanting to like sit around and watch TV, like that's you know, um, that's not. It might be nourishing my soul as long as I'm paying attention to the Spirit, but I don't feel like I'm always paying attention to the Spirit. This is probably like, I think I'm relaying to you all the time that I've thought about it today. So like, in all honesty, yeah, like 30 minutes of my day maybe throughout, sprinkled throughout it, all of these different things happened that can be summarized right now in the retelling that has taken like about 30 minutes, So, yeah, I don't know. This is the oil, the the good oil of the Lord, the press from the day, I suppose. And this is the way that the Lord grows it. So maybe I should, let off the criticism myself and trust in the Lord that I am exactly who He's made me to be. Yeah, and that's a good note to end on, I think, because otherwise I'm just going to keep talking your guys' ear off. Thank you to anybody who, has taken the time to listen to all of this. I don't even, I don't know what to say. Well, thank you for being interested, I suppose, and I hope that you got something out of it too. I trust that the Lord guides us in waves that are all very similar. So, may this have been useful to you and whatever part of time space you're coming from to watch this and experience this and enjoy. I love y'all. The Lord Jesus Christ loves you too. You already know. May He bless you, and may His perfect will, His glorious plan for the greatest and highest good of all, be done in my life, your life, our family's life, the church's life, His church's life, His family's life, all those yet to be called. In His glorious name, the Lord King Jesus Christ. Amen. Take care, y'all. Bye.